Hey guys, I love the intro.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
It's not
very
often.
dramatic.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
incredibly dramatic. I'll tell you the full story behind the theme music. We used to have a member of our team here named John Jack, and he played in a band at one point in time, and that little nugget of music was from his band. So his legend lives on with us every week when we.
It's nice to keep it in the family.
Absolutely, absolutely. So welcome to the Comic Watchers Show.
Thank you. Thanks for
And
doing
our
this.
guest this week is a man who needs no introduction, the legend himself, Klaus Janson.
I
Oh my
appreciate it.
gosh,
Thank
I
you.
can't believe we're talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely,
Thanks.
my friend. How are you right now? How is life?
I'm good. Working and having a bit of a celebration. The Dark Knight Returns 40th anniversary is this year,
It
and
is.
I'm doing an exhibit. Coincidentally, it had no connection to DKR, but I'm doing an exhibit in Manhattan on 24th Street, which is a really nice section of town. And things are good. Things are good. Spring is popping a little bit in New York, and
just a little bit. Tomorrow we're back in. Well, I'm in upstate New York, so tomorrow we're back in going cold. So
oh, thanks for the good news, Chad.
that's why I'm here.
Way to go. Well, so man, 40 years of the Dark Knight Returns. What a milestone! Congratulations to you, and of
Thank
course,
you.
everybody else involved in that milestone
Yeah.
creation in the industry. So when you look back, I mean, first of all, can you believe it's been 40 years?
I was saying this to somebody the other day. Time does not ask you to pause. It just keeps on going, and it's an amazing thing. 40 years. I agree with you. It's hard to believe.
Well, you are celebrating with your exhibit 50 years of being in the industry. So take us back 50 years and tell us how a young Klaus got into comics and made this decided he wanted to do this for a living.
I discovered comics when I was like 5 or 6 years old, when I came to America with my mom and dad. I was like five, I think, and I discovered this store near my in my neighborhood, near the house that we lived in. And it was like one of those classic mom and pop stores. I don't know if you guys ever experienced it, but they sold, cigars and candy and dust. And they had a rack of comics, and I was fortunate enough to buy some of the Superman stuff, which was what they had on the rack. And I was able to figure out the language. I was able to learn how to read English and speak English by reading comics. And I think that scarred me for, the better. It left a really profound effect on me. The power of images and the power of storytelling through images. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. I started cutting up my comics and repositioning the figures to do other things than what they were doing in the comic book. But I realized, I was destroying all my comics. And so I started to draw and write. And that was basically the beginning.
And before you had were able to break into the industry, tell us a little bit about that journey.
And it would be interesting to hear if you guys know this, but there was before the internet and before social media, there was a whole network of amateur fanzines and amateur magazines that were being done by people like myself, and they would be Xeroxed or mimeographed, and with carbon paper, and it was just terribly shoddy looking and amateurish looking. But that's what I was doing. I was doing that during my teenage years. And yeah, it was just kind of really from the ground up. And I went to, I crashed DC Comics when I was about 17 or 18. I had read that they were doing tours. Did I ever tell you this story?
No.
I don't know. You know, that I had read that they were doing tours, and since I was interested in comics and interested in working in comics, I took it upon myself to travel from. I lived in Bridgeport, Connecticut, which was 50 miles from New York, and I crashed the office. I went up to the office and I said, "Hey, I hear you're doing tours. Are you okay, Chad?"
Yes, my light fell.
That's it.
Speaking of
Well,
the Dark Knight,
we'll give you a minute, Chad. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I just crashed my setup.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't want you to hurt yourself.
Oh no.
So let me just finish. So I went up to the receptionist and I told her, I'm here for the tour, and she said, "Well, we stopped doing tours." And I was, I'm physically and literally crestfallen. And she said, "Let me see what I could do." And she went in the back. She went into the office, and out came Jack Miller, who was editing Dead Man at the time, which I loved. And apparently he had nothing to do, and he took me around. And I met, Neil Adams. He was in the office working, and I met Carmine Infantino, and Len Wein and Marv Wolfman were hanging out in the
oh
cafeteria.
wow,
Yeah, waiting for their big break. That it had definitely that feel to it. And I met Dick Giordano, who became my mentor and a very good friend and an advisor. He always gave me really good advice when I needed it, and that was sort of the pathway to becoming professional. In addition to, by the way, going to New York like 3 times a week and showing my samples and getting rejected for about 2 years before I got any kind of sense that I might be able to do this.
So clarify for me, did you break in therefore as a penciler or an inker or both?
I was at a convention, a Phil Seuling con, and I had some of the pages that I had produced for a fanzine that I was working on. The fanzine was called The Creative Adventure, which is, it amuses me. But Gil Kane was coming out of the ballroom, and I recognized him. I'm not sure why I recognized him, but I threw these pages at him, and he was looking at them, and I was looking up at him. He's very tall, and I asked him, "How long do you think I have before I can, make a living doing this?" And he said, about 3 years. And I said to him, "No, that's too long. I can't wait that long." And he said, "Well, your incline is very good." And I said, "Well, how long would it take me to get a job as an inker?" And he said, "Well, with a little practice, about a year." And I said to him, "Well, then that's what I will do." And that's why I, started focusing on inking. And he was right. Within the year, I got a break inking Rich Buckler on the Black Panther series, the first Black Panther series.
Yeah, by
Yeah.
yeah.
Don McGregor.
Almost said Don Newton, but yes, Don McGregor.
That's funny. Yeah, Don McGregor.
Very different people.
Yeah, but if you've seen one Don, you've
I don't know. Don Newton's Black Panther was just
Don Newton's Black Panther. That's right.
Don Newton Shazam. Hey.
No,
But go on.
Don Newton was a good artist. I agree.
Oh, he was phenomenal. Years ahead of his time.
Yeah, that I think that's true. Yeah. So that I got that job. I remember running around with Rich Buckler in the Marvel offices, we were chasing down Roy Thomas so that we could get a page rate and permission for me to ink Rich Buckler. And we tracked him down. He was running around, his hair was on fire. Everybody's was at that time.
Mhm.
And he said, yeah. He said, yeah, $40 a page and bi-monthly, like 12, 15 pages. I lived on that.
Mm.
It was fun. New York was dangerous. I lived in the East Village. It was great fun. I had an apartment that was on below the street level, so I would watch people's feet go by in the window. It was great. I lived on hot dogs and beans for a long time. It was wonderful. Yeah.
When would you say was the moment that things changed for you from being a journeyman to being, in demand, like the A-list guy?
Well, the A-list guy, and that's your phrase, I would say happened a little bit before Daredevil. Probably during Defenders. I was inking Defenders over Sal Buscema. And they were breakdowns, which meant he didn't lay in any blacks or texture or shadows. So I was the finisher, so to speak. That's what the title was at that time, and it turned out pretty well. I think I look back on those jobs and I think, hey, this is not bad. I got to ink Defenders Annual by Gil Kane. I think it was written by Roy Thomas. And for some reason, people still remember that. I guess they think it's good, right? So that was the first time when I thought maybe I could make a living doing this.
Chad?
So, what was it about? Did you specifically ask for for the Daredevil job, or did they hand it to you, or how did that come about?
Daredevil was about to get canceled. I don't know how close it was, but it was a bi-monthly book. And the reason why it was bi-monthly was because the sales didn't warrant a monthly book or monthly schedule. And it had a rotating crop of artists. Every month or two, somebody else would pencil it. And I managed to ink Carmine Infantino did a couple issues, Gil Kane, Bob Brown, Gene Colan, a whole bunch of people. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple.
Yeah.
I think maybe John Buscema penciled one or two. But by the time, Frank came on the book, I was already kind of connected to Daredevil. And my job was to, and they told me this, my job was to try and keep the characters consistent looking, even though there was a different penciler in the book every month. So I bought a pair of glasses that Matt Murdock wore, and I made sure that the glasses were always the same, and his hair was parted on the correct side.
Yeah.
It was a time when continuity is important.
Sure.
Not now. Now which is fine. I'm not criticizing it, but continuity was something that they were interested in, and I was the continuity guy. And they said the same thing when Frank came on. Make it look consistent. Nobody knew that Frank was going to stay on the book.
Yeah, he was just some punk kid at the time.
And proud of it.
And very proud of it. That's right.
Yeah.
How was that, relationship with Frank, working with him?
We both had the fortune of living in the same city at that time. And so I remember bumping into him in the hallway and being introduced. Oh, this is the penciler on Daredevil. And it was a very casual meeting at first, but since we did live literally maybe 4 or 5 blocks from each other, we consulted with each other, and we started talking about what we were doing and comparing notes and sort of checking on each other and pushing each other, I think, which was very, very good because you don't really have a chance to do that anymore. I think Frank still lives in the same city as I do. Mike Mignola just moved here, meaning New York. But that's it. It's not like the 70s and 80s where everyone had to live in the tri-state area.
Sure.
So we were lucky in that sense that we were nearby and we could talk to each other and talk about the work. It helped a lot. Yeah.
So how much do you feel that being a product of your era, the 70s and 80s, influenced your work and your style in terms of what was going on socially and such?
I think that I was and I think everybody from any generation will probably say the same thing to you, which is that I was very influenced by the people that I read as a kid. And so it was, for me, my influences were Neil Adams and Dick Giordano and Tom Palmer and Wally Wood and Steve Ditko. And then from there, I branched out, to John Buscema. As I mentioned, I was lucky enough to work with him. Gil Kane is my favorite American artist, just a brilliant artist, I think. And then the European artists, Mobius and a whole bunch of Hugo Pratt. But I think that I read a quote one time from David Bowie, and he said that he's a good assimilator, and meaning that he can take a little bit of something from everybody and kind of put it in a blender and make it work. And I can tell you, I ink hair. If we're talking about inking, I ink hair like Dick Giordano. I do eyes like Wally Wood. I do feathering, hopefully like Neil Adams when I feather. But there's a lot of different influences too. Yeah, so it's a whole blender, of people that I like and people that I try to emulate.
Well, I have to say, if you're going to reach for some influences or some people to have influenced you certainly named set the bar pretty high.
Well, and you're right, Matt. I was lucky enough to work with a lot of them too. So I learned a lot inking. I will tell you that the switch from inking to penciling was very difficult. The industry and the business and editorial didn't want that from me. They wanted me to stay an inker. So I had to really fight. I had to insist, I'll do the inking, but I want a pencil job. So let's make an agreement. Let's trade off. And that worked. And I think finally, after maybe 20 years of kind of pushing that rock up a hill, people started accepting me as a penciler / inker, colorist, sometime writer, teacher. The teaching was a real turning point for me, dramatically so.
Sure, I can only imagine.
Well, I learned more teaching than I think I taught the kids. I really had to figure out what this medium was about and what storytelling was about and how to do it effectively, how to do it well, I hope. So that really made me a much better artist.
Now, you said that one of your things was, when you were inking for Daredevil, that you were dealing with a bunch of different artists. Was it a challenge to kind of keep things consistent, as you said that you like to do, or did you kind of, I guess, ink to the artist you were working on?
Inking is a very subjective skill set. Subjective in the sense that your style or your approach will vary depending on the capabilities of the penciler. If the penciler is somebody who's as good as Gil Kane or Frank Miller, for that matter, or Carmine Infantino, even, or John Buscema, you don't need to. I'm going to use air quotes here. You don't need to correct them. You don't need to add to their work very much. It's pretty good as it is. But then there's a bunch of pencilers who might have been starting out, which I'm more than happy to ink because that's fun in and of itself, where you kind of help them and you try to figure out what they want, and then you try to figure out what they need, and you go ahead and do that as best you can. Do they need help with their anatomy? Do they need help with their black positioning? Do they need help with depth or clarity? Can you add a little texture? Can you make a spectacle? Can this page look a little more fun? Give it a little more juice. All those things vary depending on the penciler. So I'd like to think that I have a good eye. I couldn't, and mostly from teaching, and I can kind of figure out what the penciler needs.
And did inking? Did that help you with when you did your pencils and other parts of the comic? Did that help you or did you use vice versa? You use those things you learned to help with your inking?
Yeah, one of the things that I realized as I started to expand my footprint a little bit is that it's all connected, and that coloring a book was very helpful in terms of how I lay out a page, and I wouldn't have had that knowledge had I not colored a book. So it's all connected, and it all makes you a better artist in the end. Writing makes you a better artist because you understand the writer's point of view, and it truly is all connected. I would even say that one of the lessons that I try to teach in class is that everything on the page is connected. There is no, the first panel is connected to the second panel, and the second panel is connected to the last panel. It's all connected. And you have to, unlike film, who only deals with one image at a time, you have to deal with 5, 6, 4, 3, how many panels you have on a page. And you have to think about composition and design and how everything has to hang together and that everything is deliberate. So it takes, I think it takes a little bit of thought, to put a page together.
Yeah. What are some lessons you've learned as am I muted?
Okay.
Oh, okay. What are some lessons you've learned as a writer that you feel like you wish you had known as a younger artist?
I think that writing taught me about pacing and rhythm, and how to build up to a climax and how to come down from it. How to do what are the ingredients for a slow scene and what are the ingredients for a fast scene, and how do you contrast the two? Matt, what the fuck are you doing?
Well,
you
I've got
guys,
2 dogs in here with me, and they keep wanting out.
who?
And
The
then
cats?
they want
The
in, and
cats?
then they want to bark when they're outside, and it's
Oh,
just
your dogs.
yeah. Here she is.
Okay,
She's an old
welcome.
lady. So
Welcome,
she's
doggy.
goodbye. So forgive me. I am paying attention. I assure you.
You're making our guests
yeah,
sick. So, as we mentioned, Dark Knight is celebrating 40 years.
yeah.
When you were approached about the project, what were your initial thoughts, and did you have any reservations about it? Because it's a re new take on it was a new take on Batman.
I didn't know what the take was, and I do remember very vividly walking. I was walking in the hallways at the DC office one day, dropping off pages or picking up pages on whatever I was doing, and I saw Dick Giordano coming toward me, and he was his usual jovial, friendly personality. He was smiling, and he had his hands in his pocket. He was jingling change, and he was just popping into the office. He was a great personality, and he walked up to me and he said. Frank is doing a Batman project. I think those were his exact words. Frank is doing a Batman project, and he wants to know if you would ink it. And I thought about it. I mean, literally for 3 seconds, and I said yes, I do. It was a couple of years after Daredevil. I thought that what we did on Daredevil was a great experience, just evolving as artists and evolving as a team, and putting our stamp on the character. And I thought, well, maybe we could repeat that with Batman. I mean, and who wouldn't want to draw Batman? Of course. So that was the genesis of it. A simple, request and a simple answer.
Now, was there any differences in working on? I mean, they're both street level characters, Daredevil and Batman. Was it a similar approach that you took to your work, or did you have to kind of mold it to the story being told, as you've already talked about?
Yeah, it was a very different, not a very different, but it had differences. It was a different animal in that respect. Frank was doing pretty tight pencils, and he wasn't always doing that on Daredevil. So I tried to be a little bit more Frank Millerish than Klaus Janson. And I wasn't coloring it. Lynn Varley was coloring it. So that was out of my hands also. But the pages were different. The pages were based on a 16-panel grid, whereas on Daredevil, it was a little bit more freeform. So there were some differences, but the similarities were more than the differences. And the similarities are that they're both street level characters. They don't have superpowers. And they both have an amazing cast. Ben Urich, Commissioner Gordon, Elektra, Poison Ivy, whatever. A rogues gallery of great villains, and a gallery of great characters. If I had to draw Commissioner Gordon for the rest of my life, or Ben Urich for that matter, I'd be okay with that. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Well, Marvel and DC are doing crossovers, so maybe you could, pitch a Ben Urich Commissioner Gordon.
There you go.
I will pursue
money.
that. I'll let you know. I'll let you know, Chad. That's
Problem solved.
okay. My mind is already racing. Yeah. And you know that Peter Parker and I mean Spider-Man is cut from the same cloth. Newspaper Man, Clark Kent, Superman. The villains in Spider-Man, similar to the villains in Batman. There's similarities. Yeah.
Was there anything that you learned, from working on Daredevil that you were able to bring into your work on the Dark Knight?
I think just in a very general way, I try to. Well, I try to, with every job, I try to do the very best that I can. So I will, I can easily sit at my desk for 8 to 10 hours on one page, one panel, to try and get it exactly the way I want it to be. We did have a little bit of time on Dark Knight. We started a little bit earlier than the first one came out, obviously, and Daredevil was a monthly book that I was toward the last year. I was penciling, inking, and coloring a monthly book. That was a lot of work, and so pages went by pretty fast. I probably learned how to work fast on Daredevil. I think that's probably true, Chad. Yeah.
Well, because you stay, if memory serves, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you stayed on and worked under Denny O'Neil after Frank left, right? Or at least for a time.
Yeah, there were, and I really forget how many issues, Matt. I don't know if it was like 5 or 8 or something. I really truly forget. But I wanted to. I loved the character very much. I still do, and I've had opportunities, and maybe I'm going on a tangent, but I've had opportunities to do Daredevil projects since Frank and I stopped doing Daredevil back in the day, and I've only done one, which was End of Days, written by Brian Michael Bendis and David Mack, and inked by Bill Sienkiewicz. I did the pencil, so it was, I think, an 8-issue miniseries or maxi. Because I love that character. He's very dear to me and close to me. I will tell you that when I was a kid, I came home from school one day, and no good can come after that sentence. But I came home from school one day, and my comics were gone. And it was I had the first year or two of Spider-Man, the Steve Ditko stuff. So it was kind of valuable, although I didn't really know that at the time. And I asked my mom, I said, what happened to, my comics? And she said to me, well, I was cleaning, and I thought, well, were my comics dirty? I mean, what is the issue here? Well, she said, I just threw them out. I was cleaning. And I started collecting all over again with Daredevil #1. So that is part of the reason why the character actually means a lot to me. I had that personal connection. Daredevil, in a way, got me started again collecting comics and amassing, a certain amount of comics that I could read over and over again. Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
Now, do you have a Daredevil story of your own that you would, like to tell, or have you even thought about it?
Not off the top of my head, but I could come up with something if you press me.
Well, Is there any other characters, either in any of the
Oh yeah,
universes
I
that you
I
would like
I've
to work on?
I've always wanted to do a Silver Surfer series. Um, I like that character a lot. I like what Trad Moore did, which I thought was really interesting. But I think I could do a, sleek kind of sci-fi, Silver Surfer. Uh, I've touched a lot of characters. I've inked characters, I've penciled and inked characters, I've penciled characters, and Silver Surfer is the one that has eluded me to a great degree. I don't think uh, I've ever worked on Silver Surfer in any capacity.
Now, do you still work, traditional, or have you kind of gone into, the digital, or do you
Yeah,
use a little bit of both?
I start out analog, so to speak, and I finish digital. So at a certain point, and it depends on the page, I'll decide when it's time to go to digital. Um, but I like digital. But I really like drawing, and whether it's because I'm used to drawing on paper, or whether it's because I like the pencil, or whatever it is, or I like my drawing table as opposed to my digital table. Whatever it is, I really really like drawing, and so I start out on paper and then I finish digital. I
Start.
think I think everybody's doing digital these days, don't you think? I think we lost Chad, by the way.
No,
No,
no, I'm
Are
still
you
here.
there,
My
Chad?
camera froze, so
he was frozen in a very intimidating pose. It was scaring me. So he turned his camera off.
it's just it's just a series of calamities tonight.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
You sound like you're under a blanket, Chad. Are you under a blanket?
No,
Oh,
hold on.
okay. Well, I'm telling you, it's okay. All right, Matt. It's just you and me, Sparky.
Okay, it's just the two of us. Just like the song says. So looking back on 50 years in the industry and in this
Are
business,
you a Beatles fan?
am I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, then we
I'm,
have that
I'm
in.
not like a Beatles mania Beatles fan, but I
Oh,
definitely
I
enjoy the Fab Four.
don't ruin it for me, okay?
I prefer the Stones if
But
that
wait,
tells you anything.
you prefer what?
The Stones.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
A friend and I have this argument constantly. Which group was better? Obviously.
Oh, I think
Uh,
it's a worthwhile conversation because they both
yeah,
they both skyrocketed to popularity at this in
yeah,
similar time frames and similar arcs, but and
yeah.
they have very different musical bases for their.
Did you ever see the rock and roll circus that they did?
No, I've always wanted to.
Oh my God! You must.
I did see
Uh,
Shine a Light by Martin Scorsese though.
was that the Stones?
The Stones
book?
concert
Right,
film from
right.
I think it was about 2012 or 13, something like that.
Well, there's no doubt, Matt, that the Stones were amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but there's no doubt the Beatles were amazing.
Oh, of course
Also,
not.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're still talking about them almost 60 years after they broke up. Like there's something to it.
just to get back to comics for a second, they influenced me tremendously in terms of my art. And I wrote a story called Good Evening Midnight, which was the first black and white comic that DC put out. It was all Batman stories, short Batman stories. But I based the structure of the song, the story rather. I'm sorry. I based the structure of the story on a John Lennon song from the White Album called "Dear Prudence." You
Yeah.
probably know that song. And if it's not like Pink Floyd and the Wizard of Oz. That's not what I'm talking about, where you can play Dark Side of the Moon along with Wizard of Oz and it syncs up, perfectly. Have you ever done that?
No, I've heard about
Matt,
it.
you got to get out of the house
I,
a little
I
bit.
know.
Okay, your mic is dead.
My mic is dead?
Yes.
Oh.
Your mic. But I'm glad the two of you are well prepared for this.
Well, can you hear me now?
Your mic is still dead.
What the hell? All right, hang
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead, take your time. Oh, Chad is back. Chad, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Say something.
Okay,
you're both dead.
Okay, hold on.
This amuses me greatly. Yep.
I think I can hear. I think I can hear Matt.
No.
How strange. Chad, I can hear you. Klaus, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No. No, nothing.
How strange.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, Matt. It happened when you switched over to the left side of the screen.
Okay, I'm going to log out and log back in. I'll be right back.
Well, I don't know what you're saying because I don't read lips. Okay, I hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Okay, so that was true then. It happened when you guys switched halves. Yeah.
Damned
Oh,
thing.
okay. All right.
Anyway, I have watched Wizard of Oz with Dark Side of the Moon. So.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. So we need to explain that to Matt, right?
Yeah.
It's fun.
So tell us a little bit about the exhibit that's going to be showcasing your 50 years.
It's open now. It's going to be at the gallery until April 11th, and I'll be making appearances and walking through. We have a plan to do like little tours and stuff like that, which will be announced on the website. And I did a little gallery exhibit in France in November 24, and I wanted to see if I liked it, and I kind of did. And although this is all different original pages, so it's all splashes and covers and pinups, stuff like that. And it covers 50 years, including one or two pieces that I did when I was before I turned pro, when I was working in doing amateur fanzines. So it's got a lot of material. The opening was great. The next day was great too. It's just fun. It's a very nice gallery. I think the address is 354 West 24th Street in the Chelsea section of New York. And it's just a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Yeah.
So what did right now Klaus have to say about your first, when you saw the things that you first did?
I was able to see that I was always interested in texture and special effects and spatter and zipatone and trying to get the brush to do things that it probably shouldn't be doing, smushing it against the board or splitting it in half. So I could see where I started, and that I still have the same interest plus more. Because when I was a kid, I think you're really too young to understand design or composition, perspective. You just can't grasp it when you're a kid. But as I got older and as I was teaching more and more, I learned more about those things, and I think added them on to my initial interest of texture and special effects and lighting. I really enjoyed lighting. Yeah.
What advice would you give your younger self if you could?
I would say, well, let me say this, that the advice I'd give to other artists, younger artists coming up, if I may, your success and failure depends on your personality. It doesn't depend on your ability. Your ability is part of it, and your ability, obviously, if you're a good drawer and you know composition and you know design and you know you have certain skill sets, that's good, absolutely. But if you don't have the personality and the ambition and the perseverance, and you're a jerk, you're not going to make it. And you're not self-aware, you're not going to make it. You need to be self-aware. You need to understand what your blind spots are. You need to understand how you can sabotage yourself. You need to understand yourself. You need to be self-aware. But in terms of, giving advice to my younger self, um, I would say, don't sweat it so much. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. It's going to work out. Because when you're young, you think, everything is the apocalypse. And of course, today everything is the apocalypse. So that's, but when you're a kid, you really think, oh, it's easy to get discouraged, or it's easy to give up, and you cannot do that. You have to persevere. You have to keep on going, but you have to understand that it's going to be fine. It's going to work out. It'll be okay. That's the thing that no one ever told me. It's going to be okay. Yeah.
So, who are your top 5 artists that that have influenced you, or that you enjoy, what they produce?
I think we'd have to start with Neil Adams. For me, was a big influence. Tom Palmer was a big influence. Wally Wood, the way Wally Wood used black, big influence. And then there's a bunch of rotating artists. Every time I look at Frank Quietly's work, I think, wow, this guy's amazing. I wish I could do that. Will Eisner, right? Kirby, of course. Gil Kane is my favorite American artist. Alfonso Font is my favorite foreign artist. I think he's from Argentina. He might be from Argentina. So a lot of people. Like I said, I feel like David Bowie. I pull a little bit from everything and then put it in a blender, and it sort of comes out in a, I hope, cohesive way. I hope so. Yeah.
Are there
also music, Chad? Music and film and directors and painters and everything you see, everything. You walk down the street and you have an idea. Everything.
Now, like when you're working at your table, do you have music on, a certain, to help get the creative juices going, or do you have to have, quiet so you're focused? Or
it depends on the assignment. I can ink and have music on or watch the news. I'm a bit of a news junkie, so I can definitely listen to podcasts, but only up to a point. After an hour, I kind of realized, that I have my attention divided, and I realize that, and I see it, and then I turn it off, and I focus on the work. I can't, if I'm penciling a page, I need silence. I have to, especially at the very beginning when you're doing thumbnails and you're designing the page. I need to really focus and figure out, what I want to do, how to do it. Yeah, inking comes relatively easy. Yeah.
And are there any like current series out that you're, really enjoying, or any that you're following on a regular basis?
I'm very curious about what's happening at DC right now, the Absolute line. So I pick that up whenever I'm at Forbidden Planet. Um, so I keep an eye on that. But I think it's more to just kind of understand what's happening in the medium, in comics. What's popular, why is it popular? I kind of dissect it and try to figure out, how this works. Yeah. So I'm not sure I enjoy it, if you know what I mean, but I analyze it and try to figure out, how are they doing this? What's the appeal? I'm fascinated by, as an example, I think one of the things that's emerging from the Absolute Batman is the introduction in mainstream comics of body horror. And I find that fascinating because body horror directly comes from manga and the Japanese influence. And a lot of younger artists have been doing body horror in an underground way, not in the mainstream. But Absolute Batman has really captured that development and put it into mainstream comics, and I find that really fascinating. And I think that you can see the anime and the manga influence on the artists that are doing, or some of the artists that are doing Batman now, and I find that really interesting. Yeah.
Well, some of the things that Nick Dragotta is doing,
And
with
the
this
fact that it's so popular,
huge. Yeah,
it
it's speaking to
definitely
a
has
vast audience right now.
an enormous appeal to the audience. And so I try to think about, does that mean, I have to do body horror now? and the answer is no, because there are other comics that don't have body horror, which are popular. So
So, in your opinion, from in your 50 years, what is the biggest change to the comic book industry, and how does it look to you going forward?
I think that the biggest change in comics, there are two kind of categories. One is the technological change and the technology development, the fact that we're using better paper and we're using better coloring process, and we're using all those things to make the product look better. We're not doing 4-color press anymore on cheap toilet paper. So that's a big development. But the other development is, what was I going to say? Oh, it went out of my head. The technology. Oh, the other development was that in the year 2000, writers became more powerful than artists, visual artists. And I think that we've raised 2 generations at least of artists who need directions from the writer. Like panel 1, it's a down shot. Make sure he's running this way. Panel 2, he's running another way. Do that, do this, do that. And it's a disaster. It's, you give them a plot and they would not know how to tell a story. And I find that to be tragic, really. So that's a development that I don't particularly embrace. I think artists should tell the story and not the writer. What do you think about Marvel creating digital comics and the future of that industry? I think digital comics are still struggling. I think that there was a lot of expectation when digital comics first emerged, like 10, 15 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. And it never reached the expectation. People thought, there are no comic book stores in Kentucky or Idaho. Let's offer them digital comics and people will buy it. But they didn't. So I don't know if digital has reached a plateau. Maybe we're waiting for something to really, invigorate that market. But clearly, if you look at sales, the action right now is happening at DC with print. So that's interesting.
Well, let me just say we're coming up against the end of our hour.
Matt, you're dead. I'm sorry.
Again. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, so I guess I'll continue this since you can't hear Matt. I assume you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you, Chad.
All right. This has been a great show, technical wise. But if you want to give a kind of a shout out for the exhibit and where people can find you on social media if you're there.
I'm on Instagram. Sometimes I'm on X, but not that often. I'm not even on Instagram that often. But those are my two outlets. I've never been on Facebook. I don't. I'm not sure why. It just never appealed to me. But I'm at the exhibit is at the Philippe Le Bon Gallery. That's LA. Capital BAUNE, Philippe Le Bon Gallery. And it's on 354 West 24th Street in New York. And like I say, it'll be there till April 11th. People should go to, if you're interested in showing up at the gallery, you should go to the website. Because Philippe will announce the days that I'll be there, or we'll be doing a little tour, or we're going to do a talk about comics. It's going to be a very, very friendly, public-friendly kind of an experience. Excuse me. So check out the website, Philippe Le Bon Gallery, and come by. There's a lot of good art. And one or two shitty pieces, but I'm kidding. No, it's a lot of good art, a lot of nice covers, a lot of Frank Miller Daredevil stuff that I had. So it's a lot of stuff I penciled and inked. Some John Buscema, some Gil Kane, Gene Colan, a great variety of work. It's worth seeing, I think.
And is there anything you're working on that you want to mention or can mention?
I'm working on. I'm inking John Romita on a book or a project called Psychic Sam that Mark Miller is writing, and I think they're crowdfunding that. And that's been fun. I like working with John a lot. I always try to do my best when I work with people that I admire, their work, and I certainly do with John. And my collaborator Pablo Ramundi and I did a creator-owned project about 7 years ago called Sacred Creatures. We did that for Image, and we're doing a sequel now, and it should be out in the fall. So it's a massive project, but we're both, doing really good work, I think. And what's fun about this project is that it's about the seven deadly sins and the virtues and how they've managed to mess up humanity through the millennia. And so I do the ancient past scenes where, they're hanging around in, Pompeii or Rome and stuff. And Pablo's doing the contemporary scenes. We're both plotting and writing it, and it's just a fun project. Pablo was just to say, Pablo was my assistant maybe 25 years ago for like 10 minutes. And we became friends. And I had looked at his portfolio, and I needed some help on a job. One day I said, "Can you come by and help me out?" And we became friends, and we started bitching about how bad the comics are. And we decided, well, we could do this too. We could create our own comic. And that's kind of the origin of Sacred Creatures. Yeah.
Well, we'd love to have you back in the fall, and maybe we can get
Thanks.
your partner in crime with you, and we can talk about that book. We can see how.
That would be awesome. We're definitely going to take you up on that.
And do you do the convention circuit or no?
Yeah, my next convention, the first one of the season, will be Chicago, C2E2. And then I think what's next after that? It might be Denver, like about 6 weeks later or 8 weeks later.
Okay.
And I always do New York because I'm in New York. So it's I enjoy the conventions. I have to say they're fun. I really like meeting people, meeting fans, and just interacting. It's
Well,
a
I will
chance for me
definitely.
to. I'm sorry, I was just going to say it's a chance for me to see what the kids are doing.
I will definitely have to make it a point to say hello at New York Comic Con this year. Then.
Yeah, definitely, Chad, do that. And Matt, same to you. I will recognize you because you will have no ability to speak. So you're funny. But guys, really, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. And
Sure.
like I said, we definitely want to have you back. And next week, feel free to. We have our show. Will be David Hyde, he runs Superfan PR, but he's also has a podcast where he talks with different creators and people in the comic book industry. So we're going to have him and his crew on the show to talk about that. And until then, the world is and can be a crappy place, but do some good. Buy local, support local art, support local music, support local. But overall, just don't be a jerk.
That's right. Thank you.